Hey folks, welcome to the No Effort Podcast, the best podcast in the world that isn't every other podcast in the world. Now, I want to start today by making sure that you understand that the problem with broadcast is that I speak too quickly. I speak far too quickly for broadcast. I've always been told so. I was told so by my lecturers, and I was told so by my lecturers' heads, the deputy heads, and the heads of the department. You speak too quickly, slow down and deliver, which is what I'm going to do. So the whole reason this exists now is that I want to have a very quick avenue that I can answer questions people whom I discuss meditation with present to me. And I want to do that in a way that is very accessible. So this podcast shouldn't be much longer than 15 minutes. I'm going to aim for 15, but I tend to talk a little bit longer. So if you've not got the time right now, come back later. Or put it on while you're cooking or whatever. Do something with it. Anyway, the whole point of this is to be no effort. And no effort is what meditation should be. If we're meditating with effort, we're not actually meditating. We are simply focusing our minds. Meditation is an almost out-of-body experience when it's done correctly. Now, one of the questions that I've been asked or I've seen recently about meditation is that people feel it kills their edge, especially if you're creative. You don't want your edge to die, and you don't want to be this sort of neutered person who isn't able to express themselves in the fullness of their personality. Nothing could really be further from the truth when you look at the artists that have meditated over a long period of time, and especially in movies. Clint Eastwood has meditated for a long time, made Gran Torino while he was a meditator. David Lynch, meditating since 1977, made Eraserhead released Eraserhead that same year. It allowed both of those guys to step back from their edge, to step back from what defines them as edgy, broody, moody, dark figures in the world of cinema. And it allows you to focus that in a way that really makes sense. You don't feel the impetus, perhaps, to get it out there, I really need to get this thought out there. That's not the way it works. You have the feeling, you feel it well up inside you, and then you're able to step back and go, all right, cool. I recognize this. I acknowledge this. So what I'm going to do is let that sit for a while, like a minute or two, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to calmly write down what it was. And I'm going to analyze every little bit of it as it comes out, making sure it's as good as it could possibly be. Like if you're a songwriter, you might be like, that line, you might go line by line and be like, right, that line isn't quite what I was hoping for. So let me reanalyze that feeling again. Instead of being so wrapped up in it, you make so many mistakes, it never happens, or it becomes too honest or too raw for you to recite over and over again, or it's just unfiltered garbage that you can't actually use. That's part of the problem, is that when we think we're being creative, what's actually happening is that we're sort of distilling the most interesting properties of the emotion we're in onto something, be it a piece of paper or a blog or an instrument of any sort. We think that we have to maintain that sense of upwelling where that's the fuel, and it's not. The fuel is actually your calmness. If you can deliver something with a self-awareness, it never owns you. You own it. Whereas the work of Van Gogh allowed his work to own him. And that's what drove him to madness. It wasn't that he was unable to express it. It was like he was able to express it too well, and it consumed him, and ultimately it betrayed him. And that's the problem with creativity. It's a double-edged sword. I mean, how many artists have you heard of that completely obliterate themselves through their art? I mean, Brian Wilson's a great example. I mean, I was saying this to a couple of guys the other day, like, we're watching the Smile concert, and we were talking about how the guy's still there. The genius is still in there, but he's let the art consume himself so much that all that remains is this shell where Brian Wilson isn't really sure he's even Brian Wilson anymore. He's this other sort of pastiche or a an echo of what Brian was. You know, he's not the whole thing. He's a facsimile of it. He's not really Brian Wilson. And I think that idea is fascinating, but it's also abhorrently sad. I mean, Brian Wilson to me is the epitome of the artist, the genius artist that's not necessarily intelligently articulating his thoughts, but rather letting them flow out of him. And that's the flow state, and that's what meditation allows you to access frequently. That's the difference maker. So the idea is, with meditation, is that it allows you to feel that emotion in the fullness of its feeling, and then lets you step back and go, right, okay, I know the best way to channel that. I know the best thing for that. I know the best ending to that joke, or I know the best ending to the book, or I know the right instrument to put in the right place in this particular song. It's all about that. That's what music is all about. It's about the right thing at the right place at the right time. And all art's like that, you know. I mean, if you've ever looked at some amazing paintings, I mean, I always think Liechtenstein's a great example for this. You look at a bit of Liechtenstein and it's so abstract, it could be anything. And then as your eyes progress across the canvas, you get stuck in the mire of this dotted landscape where all of these weird abstract shapes fail to coalesce into something proper until you step back and see, oh, it's a horse. It's a horse mid-movement. You know, that's what this is all about. And that's effortless. But that stepping back has less effort to do with it than looking at the granular pieces of the painting or whatever it is. That's the whole idea. We get caught in the weeds without meditation. As writers, or authors, we need meditation because it really helps us be who we are. Meditation allows us to look at ourselves quite objectively and to say, and I don't think many people actually have this ability within their lives, is to be able to look at themselves and say, I'm an angry person, but I don't have to be an angry person all the time. I can use my anger effectively and not let it rule my life, not let it rule my day to day. And the thing about a lot of people is they're happy being sad. We get so consumed with our own sadness that we think there's some sort of wonderful poetic tragedy going on. And it's absolute bollocks. I'm sorry, but it is. It's absolute bollocks. There's no poetry to killing yourself over your art. There's no poetry to killing yourself over sadness. There's no poetry in living a life of sadness. That's the lie. It's the great lie about creativity. I haven't written any music for a long time because I don't really feel that's where my creativity is interested in anymore. If I get more music, I'll write more music. But my creativity is in getting people to meditate, to get them to understand their minds. Because I've been in a place so deep and so dark that the only answer was either obliteration or redesigning my entire consciousness from the ground up. Most people don't need to do something that drastic, but I did. And in the process of rebuilding that consciousness, I suddenly realised that, holy shit, I'm actually kind of cool. Like, I can actually live with me. Like, I actually understand who I am. I get it now. I actually get what it's all about now. I get what's, in terms of, I don't get the cosmic cosmic question of the universe. I don't get that. But what I do get is my place within me. And that's not something a lot of people say. You hear people after they maybe have a big magic mushroom trip or something that they understand their place in the universe, which is equally as religious as saying that you're aware of your position within the mind of God. That's as religious, but it's from, as far as I remember, it's from someone who was a devout atheist, which is as religious as being an atheist, by the way. Like, if you're giving yourself over to a belief structure that you think is defining your life, you're remapping your consciousness to say that you will live that life and you will stick to it forever. That's religion. That's straight up religion. I just peaked the whole thing. Hopefully I'll be able to fix that. But yeah, I mean, this is the issue. We think we know what we want. We think we understand meditation, but none of us are actually aware of it. Not me even. There's still meditations I discover on a daily basis that are different to the stuff I've been using. But what I can guarantee you is that none of them are as good as the core meditations surrounding useful in the 5 elements for relaxation and building your consciousness as those 5 elements. Breathwork, integral for carrying your meditation into your daily life. Classical conditioning, integral for using meditation in your daily life and developing long-term meditations. And now we're talking about coloured noise. Really practical, efficient, has its purpose, not an end in and of itself, but rather a means. Now, and then we're talking about self-inquiry, critical if you're talking about using meditation in your daily life. Vedic meditation, the centerpiece of useful meditation, is Vedic meditation. All other meditations surround Vedic meditation. Any meditation that claims to be the best is lying, even Vedic. There's no such thing as the best. There's no such thing as you should do this one. There's no such thing as this meditation is superior than the other one. You don't need apps. You don't need people guiding you. You don't need any of this crap. You just need you and some peace and fucking quiet. That's all you need. And that's the actuality of it. You just need to find a place where you can sit down, stick some brown noise on, meditate for a good solid half hour. And I'll tell you what, if you've got the guts to meditate for a full hour, you'll actually find yourself so well rested that you might have trouble getting to sleep that night. That sounds ludicrous, but it's absolutely the case. Now, the whole point about no effort is the Tao. It's the Tao, the Tao, whichever way you prefer to spell it. It's about the act of non-ado. You don't make yourself upset by pushing to do something. You let yourself exist. You let yourself be. You use the energy and the momentum of whatever it is you've got right now, and you use that to carry you on and further until you reach the end for all of us, you know? Bruce Lee has that wonderful quote, be like water. You can't have a mind like water if it's rigid, if it's set in its beliefs, if it knows the answers. Because the only way you can be sure that your mind is plastic in terms of its ability to adapt to new information is when you have no effort in sustaining it. If you're religious, you have effort in sustaining your religion. You need to reinforce that with belief structures, which is perfectly understandable. But it's the inverse is true of atheism, where it's like you need to reinforce atheism all the time, or people like to. I think maybe that's more it, actually. It's not the need, but it's actually kind of intoxicating as an atheist to be like to have this. I know I'm right scientifically, so I have the high ground, as Obi-Wan might say. But that's the thing, man. Is like you gotta understand that the only person that can tell you the way the universe is you, and the only thing that can give you the insight into that stuff is looking within your mind with the various methods, both illegal and legal, that are available. And without meditation, you are lost in terms of being able to construct your mind. So say you come out of a long-term relationship, right? The only thing you can do after the bereavement process is over is to rebuild yourself, to find out where you begin and where that relationship ends, and then start anew. You have to rebuild your entire life. That process is infinitely quicker, and I know so because I did it. That process is infinitely quicker when you have meditation, when you have something that will allow you to honestly look at what's going on inside your own unconscious mind, because a lot of us don't remember our dreams. But meditation, when performed well and under the right circumstances, can allow us a window back into the dreamlands. And that sounds crazy, but really think about it, right? The more quiet your mind is becoming, the more subtle thought becomes, the less active the inner monologue becomes. Once it silences, you start seeing images. People have said to me they see images all the time. It's normal, you know. And I think one of my friends described himself as being living within an octagon that was surrounded by these like electrical pylons at the top. And I didn't want to analyze it at the time, but when I see it now, it's very much like a dream. It's, it's this, and it has an available interpretation, which I won't say here because I think it's quite a private one. But it has a very definite interpretation. And as Jung says, and I know a lot of people don't like Jung, but in the instance of dreams, there's no man better than Jung. Dreams are to be treated as facts, and so are your dalliances into your unconscious mind with meditation. Otherwise, what are you doing? You're not really, if you're just focusing on the moment, you're not actually discovering anything about yourself. You're just discovering what it means to be present in the moment. There's no path there. It ends. And it's not that I dislike mindfulness. I actually really like mindfulness. I think it's very, very good, but it's not got the uses that other meditations do. And it's very strange to me that Buddhists have been able to market this, and Buddhists are the one marketing it, which is even stranger. But this mindfulness thing is a bad copy of a copy of a copy of a copy of Vedic meditation. This is, I say this a lot, and it bears repeating again. Meditation started in India. It started right there with certain Aryan races that came in at that time, and then eventually, it took ages, but eventually, 2,000 years, I think, 2,500 years maybe, it took to get mindfulness out of Vedic meditation. And that's insane to me. But I mean, it's true that everything is sort of stuck with entropy. Entropy is the ultimate law of the universe. But fucking hell, man, you can't deny that when you see something like that, where here's this beautiful technique, Vedic meditation. It's pristine. It's great for the soul. It's great for the mind. It's great for the body. And then you get 2,000 years down the line, and it's become, the entropic nature of reality has decided to make it this pastiche, this facsimile. And I know I've already used these terms in this before, but it's right. It's the right thing to say. It's not the same. It's a shadow. It's a useful shadow, boom boom, but it's a shadow nonetheless. I mean, I would see. Here's the thing, right? I wouldn't recommend you use useful as your only meditation. Never, ever, ever. But if you had Vedic, and that was all you knew, you'd be in such a better place than you would be if you only had mindfulness. Because mindfulness is good, but it doesn't give you what you need. It doesn't enrich the soul, if a word can be so used for this. I mean, I hate using religious words or spiritual words, because I feel we can talk about this in psychological terms, and we don't need to be nebulous, and we don't need to make sure that we're paying homage to Hinduism. I don't think that needs to happen. I'm not a religious person myself, but I'm very, very spiritual. I have a set belief about the universe. It's not set. It's open to attenuation. It's open to modification, but it's not ever going to be something I think is being rigid and unable to change, which I feel when you go, I'm an atheist, or I'm a theist, or I'm a Hindu or a Buddhist or whatever. Those are prisons, and they feel like as you're entering them, like they're not, like they're going to be freedom, but as Isaiah Berlin says, as he would say, they're negative freedom. They're a set of rigid structures of thinking, and that you can just enter into, and a lot of the questions are therefore answered for you forever. You don't need to put any effort in sense of, to maintain the belief structures, all you need to do is to exist within this culture. Whereas that's not the case with Vedic meditation. And Vedic meditation, the way we do it in useful, and this is what makes useful so different to the rest of everything else. Everybody else will teach you one meditation, maybe two. We teach you how to use all meditations. Everything. And how to do it right. And how to make sure you get the most out of it. So, I'm going to leave this off here, but I would like to thank you for listening to me this far, if you indeed did make it this far. And hopefully this is a bit more chilled and a bit more relaxed, and a bit more interesting than the videos, because I do feel with the videos I've been trying to make it very gentle and very calm, but that's not really me. I'm quite an animated person, and I do like to have an argument, and I do like to talk, if you haven't noticed already. So what I hope for you is that you come and talk to me in any way you can, just personally, privately, and about your life, about what's going on, about if meditation maybe sounds like it could help you in any way, just give me a call and ask a question. If you want to use email, that's fine, but go to the Facebook page, the Ayrshire Meditation page. So it's facebook.com/Ayrshire Meditation, all one word, and hopefully I'll get a little chance to speak to y'all, and we can talk about where you might want to go from here, because maybe I won't be able to recommend useful to you, but maybe I'll be able to recommend something else that will be more suitable for your temperament and the way you look at life. Anyway, I wish you all nothing but the very best in all things, and have a great day.